live over here. Oh. I don't have my mat. Everything else is set up. That's hilarious. Okay. Oops. Good grief this morning. All right, let's get. Wow, that's super weird. All right. I apologize. There's going to be another quick little start. Okay, and we're live over here. You'll notice that I'm trying to line up to a mat that's not there. I don't know why it's not there, but it's not, and I gotta fix that. So give me just a moment. I apologize. Very weird. Okay. All right, how are we? Let's get a little bit more square here. See my kitchen. Oh, this isn't reaching up at all. All right. All right, so you can see Boba. Good morning. Good morning. My fancy yoga studio. You guys know that this is all a work in progress. And for those of you on YouTube, let me know what you think of this microphone. I don't know that I notice a difference, but I don't know. I can't really tell. But if you do notice a difference and it's good, let me know. Certainly let me know. So today, as promised, we are going to twist. So the important things about twisting are that we keep the spine really tall, right? You don't want to be all smushed and have poor posture and then try and twist through your spine. So if you have disc issues, that can absolutely aggravate those disc issues, right? So tall spine and really even, right? So you may be lengthened, but if your lower back is flat, right, without the neutral curves, or the same thing with your neck, if that's a little off, right, with instead of the nice neutral curves of your cervical spine and your lumbar spine, you find problems there as well. So remember to work on your posture at any point, right? So during the day, whether you're sitting on the couch, whether you're sitting in front of your desk, whether you're driving, that's my issue. Who made car seats? Their bucket, like your back is round. So do what you can in your vehicle. Any of those places that you find that maybe you're not sitting properly, really work on that and see if you can improve that. But so keep that idea in your brain as we work into these twists. We'll go all kinds of places. There'll be all sorts of challenges. So make sure that you're propped if you need to prop. Good morning, guys. And do what you need to do for yourself. So if you need a different variation of something, take that variation instead of what I'm necessarily going through, right? So let's begin here with a dog behind you. Feet hip bone distance apart, grounding into the four corners of the feet really strongly. So when you press down, the muscles kind of fire up, right? Keep that idea. Little tuck of the tailbone, right? You don't want to flatten that lower back, but we want that neutral curve here. Lift your pelvic floor, your lower belly in and up. We're tall through this side, so we're all active in here. Relax into your shoulders, extend out the crown of your head, and feel how different that is from just standing, right? We've been standing maybe, but this is really active. Go ahead and close your eyes. Feel your head right over your shoulders. So if you tend to carry your head forward a little bit, bring the bottom tips of the ears back. And you'll feel the neck actually gets to rest a little bit even in the proper position. So setting the whole spine up, preparing to move and twist it, right? So allow your awareness to move to your breath. And gently allow your breath to stretch out, finding that just beyond comfortable place. Keep the breath flowing all through the nose. If it does become a little much and you feel like you're huffing and puffing a little bit at any point, just take a little bit of a break. Right? Maybe take a modification in the pose or a child's pose even if you need to. So staying inwardly connected, keeping those nice neutral curves of the spine, staying attached to this nice big full breath. Let's add movement. So with the inhale, take the arms and stretch them up toward the ceiling. And then exhale, bring them back down again. And just let your arms reflect your breath here. Inhaling up. Exhaling back down. Let's go one more time. And then back to the top on an inhale. When you get there, interlace your fingers. You can flip your palms over or just point your index fingers at the ceiling. Exhale, tip yourself over to the right. And then inhale back to the middle. And exhale over to the left. So just connected to the breath, let's flow side to side like that. Keeping the feet nice and even into the floor. The lower belly supporting the back. And just allowing the side body to stretch out. Maybe a little bit deeper with each breath. So let's go one more time like that on each side. Get in there as good as it's going to get for now. When you're back to center, just exhale, releasing your arms back to the sides. So let's bring the hands to the thighs here. We're going to come forward into a half fold kind of place. So you might need a little bend in your knees here. That's totally fine. We want to work to keep the spine neutral, right? So if you do need a bend, or maybe you're barely forward and you're full because you're already feeling your hamstring stretch, is what it is, right? And then allow your knees to bend enough that you rest your forearms on your thighs. And if you need to lean, but only if you have to lean. Spine nice and neutral, belly's in, feet and knees are even here. We're going to take that left arm and sweep it up toward the ceiling. So it's easier if you sort of shift over to the right. And of course, I'm exaggerating, but you may feel like your body is leaning, right? See if you can stay in the center here. And then we're going to release that, come on back to the middle and switch sides. So it's just a nice, easy little twist to begin here. Don't worry if it's not gigantic and big, not important. And then we're going to release that, come back to center. Take your legs straight. So even if they were a little bit bent before, see if you can have them straight. Maybe you're just not quite as low. Parallel-ish to the floor or not so much. Work to keep your shoulders back. And then allow yourself to just gently make your way into wherever your full fold is. Whatever that looks like now won't necessarily be the same in a minute or two or 20. And then from there, bending in the knees, of course, if you need to, we're going to step back and come into an all fours position here. So the wrists up underneath the shoulders, belly's in. And then we're working into cat-cows. So on an inhale, let the belly drop toward the floor. maybe looking forward or up even. And then exhale, round your spine toward the ceiling. And move in and out of those two poses. Moving through the opposites in your spine here. So letting the spine arch in both directions. Work to keep that idea of length though. If you're feeling any pinching back there, go a little easier or maybe stop completely depending on what you got going on. Let's go once more in each direction like that. And then find a neutral spine. So right in the middle again. Belly's in, of course. Let's extend the right leg straight back. We want to flex through the heel here, press and make the leg work, just like it did when we were standing up, right? And then extend the left arm and stretch forward, reaching away from the body so that the muscles are really engaged here, even though you're really not doing anything. Make it like work. And then let's release that, hand and knee back to the floor. And do the exact same thing on the second side. So seemingly very simple, right? Press through the heel, reach through the right fingertips. And then release back down again. So let's go back to that first side. Extend right leg, left arm. Keep the belly working. We're going to add in some movement here. So with your exhale, bring your elbow and knee together underneath your body. With the inhale, stretch back out again. So exhaling together and inhaling away. Take a few more flows like that, just nice and easy, connected to your breath. Let's go one more time like that. Extending back out and then releasing back to the mat. Doing the exact same thing on the second side. So left leg, right arm. Keep that idea of extension away. So that's where we are here. And then we exhale and squeeze it into the middle. Extend back out. So same idea on this side. Notice if there's differences. Notice if you forget about your left hand, even on the mat. Go one more time like that, squeezing in, and then extending away, and releasing back to your mat. So let's go with the hands, a handprint ahead, or the knees, a knee print back, depending on where you are. So we move into a kneeling plank rather than this all fours tabletop position. So nice and extended out the crown of your head. Your belly is working. You've got those neutral curves in the spine, right? From here, go ahead and take your left foot over to the left side of your mat and open the body to the right. So we're on the left hand with the left knee and the right foot, all in this nice long line. Belly's in. Shoulders back, kind of stacking, right? Same idea with the hips. Does not have to get fancier than this. If you want to extend the right arm, you can do that. If you want to lift the right leg, you can do that. See about taking the right arm over the ear and reach over the head. And if you like, you can kind of lift your hips a little higher and imagine reaching this right hand toward the floor, toward the top of your mat. Keeping the shoulder back, belly's working, you're breathing, right? Take it back up again. We're going to rotate back into our kneeling plank. And then do the same thing to the second side. So take that right foot over and open to the left. So find your alignment here. Make sure your right hand is happy. Make sure your belly's in. You can lift the arm, maybe lift the leg. Take it overhead. And then add in lifting the hips to reach forward. Maybe even down toward the floor. And then release that, make your way back to kneeling plank again. So nice and even on the hands. Make sure the spine is neutral. Your belly's working here. We're going to bend the elbows just enough to bring them in line with the ribs. And then we're going to stop and hover for a second. If your pelvis sags or your butt sticks out, find the middle again. Find that neutral place. Push back up and sit back. Come to child's pose. Let the arms stretch. If you want to have your hands back by your heels, you're welcome to take that variation. Absolutely. And then from here, let's make our way into down dog. So let yourself move and stretch. And this first down dog is always just a wiggling around and finding the place that you haven't moved yet, right? So that might be your shoulders. It might be your hips. And just kind of play, see what's going on. And then allow yourself to really settle in here. So pressing the hands into the mat. Press your chest back toward your thighs, sinking into your heels. Feel a nice stretch through the backs of your calves here. We're going to lift the right leg straight back. So change nothing else. You don't have to lift it high necessarily. Keep pressing through the heel as if it was still on the floor. Let the hip open. Take the toes really high. The shoulders want to shift. Don't let them. And then square your hips, release the toes. Do the exact same thing on the left side. So lifting that left leg. Keep the hips square, press your heels again. Let the hip open. Toes are as high as they can go. Square it up again, release your toes. And let's drop on down to the knees. Take your child's pose again. So we're going to lift back to our down dog. And then shift it forward, come into plank. And you can absolutely drop the knees to the floor like we were earlier if that's you. Watch that the belly doesn't sag and or the butt doesn't stick up in the air, right? Find that nice aligned position. Your spine is in those neutral curves, right? We're going to do just like we did before. Bend your elbows just enough to bring them in line with your ribs and then stop and hover here. Press through your heels, extend out through the crown of your head, and drop on down to the belly this time. So the hands are next to the side ribs. Sometimes they don't land there, so pull them back if you need to. Keep the elbows hugged in so the shoulders are back. Feel that? And then let's just roll the shoulders up by the ears, together on the back and down toward your hip bones. So don't worry about high here. Don't use your arms just yet. Turning the tailbone toward the floor, extending out the crown of your head so you're finding the nice long neutral spine. And then use your arms a little bit. So pull like you're pulling your belly button forward. Feel your triceps. Keep that. And then press into your hands some and see if you can come up a little bit higher. So the pull is still there. You still got tons of length and space. We're going to take one more breath and then release back down. So we're going to move into that half plank position. Press into your knees just enough to barely lift your pelvis up off the floor. It might not actually even leave the mat, but you feel it pull away, right? Keep that idea. Press into your hands enough to bring your elbows in line with your ribs. Hover. And then all the way up, let's sit back to our child's pose again. And you're always welcome to take those from full planks, if that's you. From child's pose back to down dog. Let's step the feet forward, come to standing fold. And here, have your feet a little bit wider than normal. So say maybe shoulder width apart. Toes are going to point forward. And just let yourself kind of rest here. So maybe even a little bend in your knees if you like. Let your head rest. Grab opposite elbow if you like. That kind of brings a little bit more body weight forward. And just be really loose and relaxed about this. You can even let your head nod or shake. And then we're going to keep that same relaxed ragdollish idea. If you have opposite elbow, just let the hands drop. We're going to take the weight and walk the hands over to the right, kind of shifting the whole body over to the right here. Come on back to center and do the same thing on the second side. Making your way back to the middle. Take the feet an extra step wider. So they don't have to be very wide, but you do want your feet even on the floor. So if you're all on or all off your mat, give that a go. We're going to make sure the toes are still pointing forward. And this time the feet are going to stay even into the mat. So press down into the four corners, just like we did at the very beginning of class. And then take your hands and walk them over to the right again, keeping the lower body where it is. So the weight stays nice and even in your feet. We're going to walk it back through the center. Do the same thing over to the second side. And then back to the middle again, taking your feet an extra step wider. So same idea though, finding the four corners of the feet, staying nice and even on them, bellies in. This time here, we're going to have the hands straight down from the shoulders. So probably not as close to your feet as you can go. And you may not be in the deepest fold you have. So here, we're going to take the left hand right underneath the face. So it's kind of in the middle. Weight stays even in the feet. Bring your hand to your right hand to your hip and keep the hips square. From there, imagine rotating your belly button around to the right. Turning your right side ribs toward the ceiling, maybe drawing your shoulder back a little bit, getting a little bit bigger twist. And then here, you can use the floor a little bit and see if it changes anything. Press down into your left hand. Feel the difference? What if you sweep your left hand, muscularly of course, over to the left? Does that change anything? Make sure the spine feels long. We're going to take one more breath and then release that. So switch, bring your right hand to the middle and the left hand to the hip. Same idea. Begin by rotating the belly around, the side ribs, the shoulder. And it gets you what it gets you. It might not be the biggest twist you've ever had, but don't worry too much about that, right? We're keeping the pelvis square, so it's all through the spine. And then we're using the floor, again, to kind of push into and maybe sweep to the right to draw around a little deeper. And even here, it might not be big and giant, right? But it feels really even. Spine feels long. And then we're going to release that. So bring your feet back in, right up underneath the hip bones here. Bringing the hands up to the thighs, and then pressing away, come back into that halfway place again, where we were before. From there, bend into your knees, and we're going to come to supported chair. So check in, feet, knees, and hips all in the same plane. Finding the neutral curves in the spine here. So it's really easy to sort of stick your butt out and drop your chest. See if you can find a really neutral spine. So maybe even turning the tailbone down a little bit. Let your chest lift. You can hang on, center, extend, whatever the arms want to do. And breathing. Gotta breathe. On the next inhale, stretch to the ceiling, and then release the arms. So here, take your hands to your lower back, just for the support here. If you don't really need it, you can maybe interlace your fingers and draw your shoulder blades together instead. You can play with the variations here, but for just a little bit of support, especially early, it's not a bad idea. Tucking the tailbone, draw the shoulder blades together on your back. So you want to feel your chest kind of poke out a little bit and maybe even lift up toward the ceiling. So you're creating that space, and then you can open up into this little back bend or big back bend, depending on where you are. So just watch, again, that nothing gets pinched. Instead of just letting your head fall back, imagine taking the bottom tips of your ears back, right? So the throat stays neutral rather than extended. And you don't pinch the back of your neck. See if you can find a little bit more length in your spine, and then maybe the back bend can be a little bit deeper. With an inhale, we're going to come back up to the middle and then release the arms. Standing tall for just a moment here. And then go ahead and set your hands on your thighs. Lean if you need to lean. Let's come forward, half fold kind of place again. One more time. And then all the way over into your full fold. Let's bring the feet together. And then hug the legs in. So even if your legs don't touch, squeeze them together as if you could make them touch, right? So really, really active. The belly's still in here. We're going to come into that supported chair idea again. So bend into your knees. Lean with your hands on your thighs as heavily as you need to for now. Belly's in. You've got those neutral curves in the spine, right? So here, you can start off simple, just bringing the left hand to the outside of the right knee and maybe the right hand to the hip. Or if you want to get fancy, bring that left elbow to the outside of the right knee. And then the palms can come together and you can rotate into your twist here. So the temptation is, just like it has been, to sort of shift to the side with your lower body. Keep that centered if you can. And then you can use the outer right leg as leverage, either pressing the elbow into it or pulling with the hand, right? Just like we used the floor before, using the body to work around a little deeper. Take one more breath. And then release that. Come back over into your fold. Give your legs a break for a second. And then we're going to go to the second side. So again, hugging the legs in, bending into the knees, coming into that supported position for a second. Check in with your spine. Make sure you're happy. And then you decide how deep to go. And you can start off simple, just bringing the right hand to the knee and the left hand to the hip. And if that's feeling pretty good, you can work in a little bit deeper with this elbow. And either way, using the leverage. If you're just happy with the hand and the left hand at the hip here and not falling down, that's good too. Take one more breath. And then release the twist. Come over into your fold. Bringing the feet back into your normal hip bone distance place. Make sure your toes are pointing forward. This time here, go ahead and bend into your knees and roll up through your spine, one vertebra at a time, all the way back to your standing position. Okay. So let's move into some sun salutes. We're going to move with our breath. Whether you take 1 breath or 2 or 20 if you needed to, in and out of a pose, take your time, right? Rushing and not being aware of what's going on in between poses is a really easy way to injure yourself, right? So just make sure it's you. You've got nobody to compete against. You're in your own home, right? So let's inhale, stretch the arms up. Exhaling, take yourself into a fold. On the inhale, come halfway up. Exhaling, step back to your plank. So from the knees, if you'd like, drop all the way down to the belly. You don't have to stop in the middle. Hands next to the side ribs. Inhale, roll the shoulders. And then release up and back into down dog. Inhale as you step forward. Toes to fingers back into the fold again. Come halfway up on an inhale. Back over, fold. All the way up, reaching the arms. Exhale to release them. So again, just like that, super simple. Inhale up and into fold. Halfway up. Exhaling plank. Drop it down to the belly, that same exhalation if you can. Roll into the shoulder, little pull, little press, deeper if you'd like. Back to down dog. And then inhale, step forward, fold. Halfway up. Exhaling over. All the way up. Reach the ceiling. And exhale the arms. So let's move into our modification here, right? So you can take the same variation if that's you. You can add on, not skip things if you need to skip things, of course, right? So this time, inhale, sitting into chair. And then exhale over into your fold. Halfway up. Exhale back to plank. Take it down to the belly. And then roll to your cobra, releasing back to down dog. With your inhale this time, step the right foot forward into lunge. Work your toes to your fingers all the way up there. You can drop the back knee or the back heel. Inhale, reach the upper body. Exhale, come back over into your lunge and step back down dog. Shift forward to plank. Take it down. Roll to cobra. And then back to down dog. Second side, left foot forward. Knee or heel to the mat. Lifting, inhale. Exhaling back down and stepping back into your down dog. One more time here. Shift it forward, plank. Drop it down. Roll to cobra. And then back to down dog. So then holding that down dog or dropping down to the knees and taking a child's pose. Let your body rest here, even if it's in that down dog. Ideally, a down dog is a resting position. After a bunch of sun salutes, maybe not as much. But listen to your body. Let's take one more breath here. And then we'll lift, coming back into our down dog. Inhaling, step the feet forward, coming back to our fold again. Halfway up. Exhale over. And then into chair. Inhale. And exhale to release it all. All right. So from here, let's take a short step back. Let's start with the right foot. So all 10 toes are going to point forward here. If this feels a little awkward, you feel like you have to fall over, take your feet a little bit wider. You don't want to go too crazy. You want to pretty much stay in line with the hips. But if you need a little bit wider platform, so to speak, take it so you don't fall down the whole time. Nice and even on the four corners of the feet. Go ahead and bend your left knee, ground into the right heel. So the hips are square, shoulders are square to the top of the mat. We're going to extend the arms. Find a nice neutral spine here. Try to relax your shoulders, extend out through the crown of your head. And if you'd like here, you can add a little bit of that back bend, right? So tucking the tailbone, drawing the shoulder blades together, lifting the chest, same idea. Oh, the cool weather just makes the animals crazy. And then we're going to open up into Warrior Two from here. So the arms are parallel to the floor, left hand over left leg. Go ahead and open your right foot. Turn the toes out, take it back a bit. Make sure you can see your left big toe beyond the knee. So nice and even in your feet here as well. Hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. Not hips over ankles. Shoulders over hips. And then we'll take that left hand, rest it on the thigh, bring the right arm up and over the ear, and we're going to stretch from the fingertips all the way through that back heel. Imagine stacking your shoulders here, kind of dropping into your hips if you can. Breathe. And then let's release it. Come over to a lunge, up on the back toes, and we're going to drop the back knee for a second here. So let's take the left leg straight. Give yourself a little hamstring stretch here. Maybe just kind of unplug in the hip a little bit. And then we're going to bend back into the knee. Let the hips come nice and low and extend out long through the crown of your head. So you can stay low and leave this kind of easy, bringing the left hand to the hip and just rotating around. Right? Doesn't have to get fancy. Maybe climb up on the thigh here. And then essentially we're going to do the same thing. So the left hand on the hip, maybe the right hand to the outside of the knee. Does this look familiar? Pulling against the knee, rotating the belly around. Keeping the spine nice and tall. And the twist is what it is, right? If you want to get fancier. Right elbow to the outside of the knee. Palms can press. But you're doing the same thing with the elbow. You're kind of pushing against the knee. Don't let the knee collapse, of course. Keep the knee pointing forward. Just allow yourself to work around a little bit. Release your twist. Unplug. Take that leg straight again. Bends back into the knee. And we're going to twist to the second side, right? So take your left hand to the inside. And now the leverage is here with the left hand against the leg, arm against the leg. Right hand comes to the hip. We're going to rotate away. So pressing the arm into the leg, keeping the leg steady, and just drawing around. And here you can get fancy with your right hand, maybe reaching back towards your left hip. And a little push with the left arm and pull with the right. Releasing the twist. Let's step ourselves back into down dog. Give yourself a wiggle and a shift. We'll come forward into plank and drop down to the belly. Roll to your cobra. And then release that back to down dog. So from that down dog, go ahead and step the feet forward, come to standing fold. Taking a little bend into the knees here, we'll roll up through the spine again. And take the second side, right? So you know what's coming essentially, right? Remember on this side, it might be a little different. So you might have to modify here or there. Short step back with the left foot. All 10 toes are pointing forward. When you're ready, you bend into the right knee. So you're even on your feet, hips and shoulders are square, and then we extend the arms or take your back bend. You can interlace the fingers behind the back, any of those variations. And from there, open yourself back into your warrior two. So opening the back foot, opening the arms. Wiggle until you find the proper place for your feet. Your left toes point more to the side than the front necessarily, unless your hips are really tight, then sometimes they point more to the front. You can see your big toe beyond your knee. The weight is even in the feet. And then we bend the right elbow, rest the forearm on the thigh, bring the left arm up and over the ear, leaning if you have to lean with the arm onto the leg, but not leaning all the body weight into the right foot. Keep that left foot nice and grounded. And then let's release it. Come over to our lunge, up on the back toes and let the knee fall. So again here, maybe just unplugging, take the legs straight, find your hamstring stretch, wiggle your hips, whatever you need here. Let's bend the knee. So you decide how big to make this, right? Left hand stays on the floor and the right hand to the hip. Yeah. And you can use the floor just like we did earlier, right? Or you can climb up and you can use the hand to the outside of the knee, rotating around, or maybe the elbow. And then we press the elbow into the outside of the knee here. And of course, if you wanted to get really fancy, you could lift the back knee and take all kinds of other variations here. Listen to your body. Let's release the twist and take the leg straight again. Again, just kind of giving it a little bit of a rest. And then working to our second side, go ahead and bend the knee. Right hand to the inside of the foot. Arm and leg provide leverage, and then the left hand to the hip. So you press into the leg, rotating around. And again, maybe this left hand sneaks back toward that right hip, maybe not. We're going to release that twist. Step ourselves back into one last down dog. No, take that back. It's probably not your last down dog, but it is your last. So shift forward to plank. Down to the belly. Rotate to your, roll into your cobra. And then back to down dog. So go ahead and drop on down to the knees. Sit back into child's pose for just a moment. And then we'll make our way back to down dog. Stepping the feet forward into our fold. Little bend into the knees so we can roll up through the spine. And we'll take our standing balance next. So if you're more comfortable being next to a wall when you stand on one foot, then be next to a wall. Make sure your foot is nice and even into the floor, so you'll maybe want to be off your mat, right? You decide. Definitely not half on and half off anyway. Okay. So here, let's go ahead and shift the weight over into the left foot. Nice and even on the four corners. Lift your right knee. Doesn't have to get any fancier than this, but if you'd like, the left hand to the outside of the knee. The knee needs to stay pointing forward so that maybe we can pull against it and rotate the belly around. So your left leg is straight, your spine is nice and tall, right? Keep that. If you can, maybe slide down to the outside of the calf, pulling the knee in. You can reach down for the outside of your foot and you can bend into this if you need to, but then you got to stand back up again. Okay. And if it sounds like fun, you take that leg straight. But you're still pulling against the leg, keeping it pointing forward to rotate yourself around into this twist. Stand tall wherever you are. Gently release, coming back to the middle. And let's take the second side, right? So like the first side never happened because it may or may not be anything like that, okay? All the way to the right, lift the left. Stand nice and tall here. Bringing the right hand to the outside of the knee and rotating right into the twist. So this is it. If you get the leg in a little bit more, or you find your foot, or you extend the leg, that's all extras. Take one more breath. And then gently release what you got. Coming back to your mat if you did step away. Let's stand nice and tall again here. So just like we started, ground into your feet, lengthen through your spine. Let's stretch the arms up. And then gently make your way into a forward fold. Step yourself back into down dog. And then drop on down into your child's pose. Everybody doing okay? You're breathing, right? Okay. So from here, let's go ahead and come up to sit on the heels. And we'll bring the legs around front. So let your legs stretch out long. If you feel like you need to wiggle or adjust or bounce, feel free to do those things. Stretch and shift and wiggle, right? Whenever you need to. Well, maybe not whenever you need to, but definitely between if you feel a little stuck or whatever, right? So legs are long, feet are flexed. Take inner thigh rotation here. So your belly is working. You've got those neutral curves in the spine, right? Let's reach the arms up. And we'll take it over into a fold. Take your time on the way down. Let your hands fall where they do. Try not to reach for your toes. If they show up, they show up. So one more last twist that you actually have to work a little bit for. We're going to take and grab onto the right foot. So if you can just grab your foot, lovely. If you cannot, bend your knee and grab your foot. Totally fine to have your knee bent here. Now hang on and sit back so that the leg lifts away from the floor. Your left leg is still rooted, still flexed, right? If you can take the leg straight, if you can take your toes higher, you go for that. Otherwise, you just hang on, right? Sitting nice and tall. Keep your chest lifted so you've got those beautiful curves in your spine. And then see about taking the left hand to the outside of the foot here. That leg stays pointing forward, not falling across. And then the right hand releases and we reach back behind. Stretch through those fingertips, stretch through the crown of your head. You can pull a little bit more against the leg if you want a little bit more. Let's release that. Come on back to the center. Release the foot back to the floor. Side B, same idea. So if you can just grab the foot, grab the foot. If you need to bend first, bend. Right? Hang on, belly's in, shoulders are relaxed. Lean back and lift. And then again, you decide where you go with this. So maybe the toes are high, maybe the leg is straight, maybe neither of those things. Keep the chest lifting. Make sure your spine feels long. And then we'll add in our twist with the right hand to the outside of the foot, releasing the left hand, reach back. Stretch through your fingertips. Even imagine pressing out through this left leg. That'll help keep the leg pressing forward rather than collapsing across. Sit really tall through the crown of your head. And then let's release that, coming back to center. Release your toes back to the floor, the foot back to the floor. And then on an inhale, we'll come all the way up and release the arms. So let's bring the soles of the feet together here. You'll need to move forward so that you have mat to roll back to, of course. Heels into the groin. We want to sit nice and tall. And then lean back just enough to balance. Keep the chest lifted. And then go ahead and C-curve your spine and roll on down to your back. And then take a moment. The soles of the feet are going to stay together, but let your knees rest out to the sides. Everybody good? Bringing the knees together and then into the chest. Let yourself rock a little bit here. So this final twist is pretty much always a freebie, but especially today. Open the arms out into a T position here, and then you've got lots of variations. So you can keep your knees a little closer to your chest and let them fall over to the right. You can take your feet flat to the floor, shifting your hips to the left and then letting your legs fall to the right. You can cross your legs, you can take them straight. Any little variation that feels good for you right now. We've done lots of twists, so just explore. And every day is not always the same. So take your time with your poses. Experiment and see what your body wants to do from one day to the next. Take one more breath here. And then make your way back to the middle. And take your second side. So ideally, whatever variation you did on the first side, you do on the second side. It may not look the same, right? We want to try and remain as even as we can from one side to the next. Taking one more breath on this side. And then making your way back to center. We'll draw the knees back to the chest. Give yourself a nice little rock again here. And then squeeze in. Draw the forehead toward the knees. Maybe wrap your arms across your shins. Give yourself a squeeze. Releasing that out into a full body stretch. Release the stretch and let your arms come back down by your sides. And just take a moment. We want to make sure that the body feels aligned and comfortable. So if that's a seated place, maybe up against a wall, maybe propped in one manner or another, make sure you find the position that's right for you today. And then when you find that place, let go. Release the muscles. Let the mind settle solely on the breath again. But instead of controlling your breath, release that as well. Keeping the mind quiet, release any random thought that wanders in. And just give yourself a few minutes here You can stay as long as you like, keeping the mind quiet, present. And giving yourself time to rest. Begin to draw each breath a little deeper than the last. And eventually take a nice, deep, cleansing breath, and then let it all go. Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes, moving and stretching through your arms, your legs, taking another full body stretch if that sounds good. When you're ready, take the feet flat to the floor, gently making your way back up to a seated position. Drawing the palms to touch. Bowing your head to your heart. From my heart to yours. Namaste. So thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for sticking in there until the end. The end is always the best part. People miss that. It's definitely the best part. So just a quick note. I wanted to say this earlier and I forgot. For those of you who are members on my site, if you have a monthly or a yearly membership, I've got something special coming up for you. Completely free, exciting, and a little bit different than normal. So stay tuned. It's still kind of turning around in my head, but I wanted to thank you guys for supporting me for the last year and almost a half-ish, and giving you a special little gift for surviving this crazy year with me, or however you've been doing it. So stay tuned. I've got more news. If I don't have your email, if you're not on my email list, if you could visit anydayyoga.com. There's a little place for your email list or your email, and I will keep you informed that way as well. So thank you again very much. Enjoy your weekend. Maybe we'll get some sun at some point. All right. Thanks, guys. Expansive view. Bye. I don't get to always see this.